Hello everyone, it is Nicholas from Aussie Money Man. So in this video, I want to look at another 10 or so of the highest paying jobs in Australia that don't require a degree. So if you haven't seen part 1, definitely go check that out. That video was really popular. I think it's got over 40,000 views, and about 8 other YouTubers here in Australia basically got inspired from that idea as well. So apparently people like that, so this is why I'm going to make a part 2. I've basically found a lot of other jobs that are quite high paying here in Australia that don't require a degree. With that said, guys, please hit like on the video. Hopefully we can hit over 1,000 likes again on this video. Let's jump straight in. Alright guys, so first things first, if you are overseas, these probably will overlap with all the jobs in your respective country. The second thing to note is here in Australia, the median income is about 54,000. If you're actually working a full-time job in the more professional areas, maybe you're making 70, 80k, but basically when you don't have a degree, anything over 65, 70k is pretty high paying. And lastly guys, as I mentioned in my last video, I personally believe jobs are paid highly for one of 3 reasons. They require leadership / management, or management roles will usually pay quite well. They're dangerous / unfavorable, meaning people don't really want to do them, or there's a lot of risk in it, or you're just highly skilled, so that's usually jobs where you've got sort of technical skills or something like that. Also guys, please do note, make sure you stay to the end because a lot of these jobs are really interesting and I think you guys will enjoy them. With that said guys, let's jump into number 1. So number 1 is joining the Australian Defence Force as an officer. So here in Australia, the ADF is one of the best ways to get a great salary. Now it's important to note you should definitely never apply or join the ADF purely for money. There's a lot of other things that come with it. For example, in this case, it's mainly the danger and the lifestyle that comes with it. There's a lot of unfavorable lifestyle considerations to take into account when joining. But with that said, the Australian military, so the ADF, actually is the second highest paying military in the world after Canada. So there's a lot of good benefits. You can jump on their website. Something I looked at quite a lot when I was younger. So joining the ADF as an officer can basically mean that you're making 115k after training, but very likely well over 85k because they get quite a lot of allowances, particularly if you're in the Navy, because you'll often be out at sea for 6 months of the year and you'll get special allowances for that, anything between $11,000 and $15,000 at the time of recording this video. So the Australian Defence Force, no matter what your role is within their ADF, if you're an officer, you're looking at well over 85k. Alright guys, so the second one is basically to join the ADF as an enlistee. So here in the Australian Defence, you've got officers which are paid more paperwork, more management, and then you've got enlistees which basically aren't officers, but they're members of the Australian Defence Force as well, and they still get all the same benefits as officers. They usually make a little bit less. You're usually expecting to be making at least $65,000, $70,000 a year, although there's a lot of potential to make more. Then you have all your allowances as well, and you also get things like free medical and dental, subsidised housing, subsidised meals if you're living on base as well, just like the officers get. So again, the ADF is a really good way to get paid quite well without a degree. Alright guys, so number 3 is actually a police officer. So police officers can make really good money. Depending on where you are in Australia, you're going to be looking at making at least 75,000, but many of them are making up to 95,000, with an average being around 82 to 84,000 dollars depending on your state and territory. So obviously you don't need a degree. There's one state in Australia, which is New South Wales, where you need to get a diploma first to apply, but that only takes like 13 weeks to get, or I believe it may be a certificate. But in every other state and territory, you don't even need that. So if you are interested in doing that line of work, of course, again, it's dangerous. There's a lot of risk that comes with it. Involves a lot of decision making and stuff. As I mentioned, there's reasons why these jobs are highly paid, but if you don't have a degree and you're interested in that line of work, you can make very good money. I know a lot of police officers personally making well over 120, 130k after 10 years plus service. But as mentioned guys, it's important to note, even after recruit training, you're looking at making 70, 80k anyway, and in some states 90k plus. Alright guys, so the next one is quite interesting, and it basically involves going to jobs.antarctica.gov.au, which is basically all these sorts of jobs, and they range everything from ICT to general leadership / admin to trades to medical / medicine and nurses and everything you can really imagine. And basically what you do is through an Australian government program, you essentially make anywhere from 120 to 200k to basically go to Antarctica and work there in your respective role. So obviously there's a lot of conditions that come with this. Obviously you're in a very isolated place where the weather conditions are very strict. You have to go through a psychological and medical screening that are really quite strict as well, because it's quite hard to get you out if you have like a medical episode or need help and stuff like that. However, with that said, if this is something you're interested in, it's a really good way to make a lot of money without a degree, and you may be getting a lot of benefit from it because it's something you're interested in. I mean, I know personally all these sorts of roles I'm speaking about are the sorts of roles I'm interested in, and as someone who hasn't gone ahead and gotten a further education, these sorts of roles are really, really attractive for me because it's essentially a win-win. Down below, by the way, guys, I'll have the different jobs 1, 2, 3, 4 and the respective links where applicable. But basically, guys, I do recommend checking this out if it's something you're interested in. As I mentioned, you're really looking at making, for what I can see, looking at a few of these jobs, anywhere from 120k for the less skilled jobs all the way up to 200k. Plus, you basically get a 60k allowance no matter what, just for all the extra conditions of going out to somewhere like Antarctica. Alright guys, so the next one is really fitting into the theme of the previous jobs, and that job is a firefighter. So of course, here in Australia, firefighters are again making similar salaries to police, $70,000, $80,000, $90,000 plus after recruit training, depending on the state or territory that you're in. But again, you don't need a degree. You do require a high level of fitness. Obviously there's a lot of mental strain. Obviously the job's very taxing on your body. There's all sorts of things that come with it. But again, if it's something that you're interested in, this is a really, really good option, and I recommend checking out some more information about this on your respective state or territory firefighter website. Alright guys, so the next one is a little bit different, but it's basically anything in ICT. So anything that's to do with computers and IT can be paid really, really highly. So this is the field that I used to work in. I've researched a lot about it. Basically, I'm not going to say specific roles. If you have skills in IT, you're looking at pretty good money. You're usually looking at least 80k plus, with the potential to earn well over $200,000 depending on the area that you're in and how skilled you are at it. So I'll have some examples down below, but again, IT really is an area where you're looking at pretty good money, and you don't necessarily need a degree for it. In fact, you don't even necessarily need diplomas and certificates a lot of the time, although you can do those and that will help a lot. But really, if you have the ICT skills and you can demonstrate that, people, particularly public companies, are willing to pay a lot of money for that skill. Alright guys, so the next one is actually a park ranger. So park rangers here in Australia do a number of different roles, everything from protecting the environment in certain areas to general patrols to helping people, that are in the area, to all sorts of different things. You guys can check out the links down below. But basically, they're usually paid at least $65,000, but many of them are making well over 70, 80, sometimes even 90k, and well into six figures over their career as well for doing that role. And of course, you don't need a degree in it. Usually the hardest part is having enough experience to land the role to begin with, although from what I've read, that's not too difficult in of itself, and it is a pretty cool job in my opinion as well, because you get to be outside and all that, and if you're someone that enjoys nature, enjoys working with the environment, animals, stuff like that, it could be something that is quite enjoyable. So that is a park ranger. Alright guys, so the next one is actually a protective service officer, also known as a PSO. So as of current, at the time of recording this video, the state of Victoria has these within their police division, PSOs, and so does the federal police. Now what they do varies slightly between those forces, but basically you're essentially a security guard with some policing powers, extra training, and you get paid a lot more than a security guard. So most security guards are on $20 to $30 an hour. These guys are on $40 plus an hour, usually, particularly when considering allowances, and they also get a bunch of extra benefits as well. So this is something you can look into, but more or less you're doing, in the Victoria's case, you're basically patrolling train stations and stuff like that, and in the federal police there's a number of different things. You're protecting things like Parliament House, they do patrols, they also do work out in the Northern Territory in places like Pine Gap, which is a joint defense base, mainly the CIA and the AFP basically provide security there. So essentially you are a security guard, but you get paid a lot better than that. So you're really looking at a minimum salary of around $75,000, depending on where you're posted it's $85,000, and as your career goes on you can easily make over six figures doing it. The hardest thing about these roles, particularly in the federal police's case, so the AFP, is basically getting in. It's quite competitive to get into a role like that. However, if you're in, again, you don't need a degree, any qualifications, or really any experience, and you basically can get yourself a pretty good salary that way. Alright guys, so the next one is a pilot. Now you may be thinking surely you need a degree. You actually don't. However, what you do need is a hell lot of training. So the difficulty with this one is you do still need a lot of training, and it takes a long time to get your commercial pilot's license, or even to get a license that you can use to help train other people and start making money from it and essentially use it as a job. But with that said, you don't technically need a degree, and obviously pilots do make quite a lot of money. But with that said, they do spend a lot of money, usually well over six figures, training to get their license and actually be a qualified pilot. So that is something to consider, but I thought it was worthwhile including in this list. Alright guys, so that is it for the list. I hope you guys enjoy this. Please do comment down below if I've missed any, or other ones that you guys are aware of between part 1 and part 2. I think I've covered a huge range of the highest paying jobs here in Australia without a degree, and these ones really are the best. And I've, again, spent 4 or 5 years looking at this and researching it on and off. So it's quite interesting. Please do hit like on the video. Please do subscribe if you haven't already. And guys, if you're looking to make some extra cash, I do have a whole video on sign-up bonuses, how to make cash basically from signing up to different things. You can make quite a lot of money easily, realistically, a few $1,000s. So I'll link that video down below. Basically, go check that out and you guys can make some cash that way. Thanks so much for watching.